Hey, remember us? I feel like the whole world has changed, especially the Nintendo world since we last convened. But hello, welcome to the 51st edition of Rammer Nintendo. I am Jason. We skipped an episode, but here I am along with our other co-host, Angel, back from Japan,
I am here.
and Kevin, who... Did you go anywhere? You were here. You were just here,
I
right?
was unfortunately here.
Oh, well, nothing wrong with that. But yes, we're back together after a very... It wasn't that long of a hiatus. We skipped an episode before, but I feel like a lot happened while we were gone.
Well, we just
to come
skipped a
back to.
week, right? It's not
Yeah, we
necessarily
skipped.
an
No.
episode.
We skipped an episode fully. It's been a month, just about.
Has it?
Yeah,
Oh,
we last.
I don't
did...
think so.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
pretty
we just
sure.
skipped a...
Nope, I'm almost positive.
Yeah, we just pushed. We just pushed it out a week. You're going crazy, Jason.
We didn't. No, we're not. The last episode was the 17th of November, and this goes up. Of October, and this goes up the 13th of November. So 25
There you go,
days.
not a
It's
month.
been 25 days. If it was February, it would almost be a month. So
Technically, you're still wrong. But
yes, but it's somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks. Yes, but it feels like an eternity because there's been so much going on. But yeah, how have you guys been? It's been as I've been saying repeatedly, it's been a minute.
been fine. I mean, kind of like you said, it feels like it's been a long time. But as far as coming back from a trip to Japan, not long enough. But actually, I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I mean, I guess should I just jump into that, or did we want to?
Whatever you want. If you want, I was gonna say the one thing that we've. I feel like we haven't talked in a while. Except, well, do you want to start with Japan, or do you want to start with your cats? Your
Definitely
AI
Japan.
cats. Okay. Stay tuned, everyone. There's some weird AI cats coming, but yeah, lead with Japan. I guess
My algorithm is starting to heal. It's great. But
you
yeah,
corrupted it
we'll
so
get
much.
into that.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So, yeah, so for those that didn't know or that don't follow me, actually, I didn't. I think this is the first.
You didn't post a single
time.
thing until yesterday, so
Yeah, the last time I went to Japan about a year ago, I posted something about every other day, but the time I went to Japan before that same year, I also didn't post anything at all. So I guess it's like every other trip, I just kind of don't post anything. But I was taking pictures throughout the trip that kind of inspired, like, this inspired a little drawing that I'll post later. So I'm just kind of doing it post mortem. And mainly because this trip was very different from all my other trips. This was almost like a boss battle, but in a good way. You could say like every group trip kind of led up to this moment because it was a big family trip. It's one of those trips that you talk about like, oh, we're gonna do it someday, and then it just kind of never really happens. If anything, um, half of the some of the people I went with in this trip were supposed to go in. We were all supposed to go in 2020. They were part of a Japan 2020 trip. I don't remember if you were a part of that, Jason.
I was loosely associated. Yes. I
Yeah,
was
before
in
COVID
the
happened
running
and just
for the
derailed
plans,
everything.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But, it finally happened. I'm very excited that I got to take the family, but since the 2020, the family has grown. I'm an uncle of two nieces now. That didn't exist then. And we also managed to take my mom, my aunt, my brother went, and my sister and brother-in-law, of course. And it was amazing. It was just amazing, like, family time. It was amazing just seeing everyone's reactions. It was really great having a balance. Well, not even a balance. Like only my brother and I had been to Japan multiple times before, so the majority hadn't been there. But honestly, like just having my brother and I there was like more than enough. And on top of that, my sister and brother-in-law had already seen enough videos to kind of get a general idea of at least like what they wanted to do, what to generally expect. There were still always like lots of surprises, but they knew that convenience stores were going to be like an important part of the trip, and bidets and general cleanliness, or just like a stricter, maybe not stricter, but just like more cultural rules that aren't really explicitly said, but like, hey, just so you shouldn't be talking on the train, or you shouldn't be eating while you're walking, like, yeah, keep your trash with you, like, because there's also just barely any trash cans. But Yeah, and also, just one of my nieces is old enough to. Actually, I guess both of them were. One of them is like one, and the other one's like around three. But one of them is able to like kind of describe things that they see and like talk about things that they're excited about or what they want to do. And the other one is just doesn't talk, but it's old enough to just make audible, I guess, reactions. And it was really adorable that once in a while they would just on loop just go wow, like wow, wow, like that's just what they would do, and it was
Aw.
great. They took after the angel wow. But to kind of sum up where I was, because I wanted to give them, it's a group of 8 people. We were only going to be there for 12 days. So
Only
I,
12 days.
Only almost 2 full weeks. Only.
yeah, but when you take into account the places we wanted to hit, it's like a very rapid pace trip.
Yeah,
Like
it goes
every day,
quick
like
for
we
sure.
skimmed, like, they basically got like a sampling of Japan. And, to give you an idea, the first week we flew into Osaka, Kansai specifically, and then we took a train to Osaka proper. We had an Airbnb there. Airbnb's the whole trip. It was amazing. We had two Airbnbs with 3 bedrooms each, so you only had to share the room with one other person. And they had a crib there. They had a whole TV. They had a whole kitchen. It was washing machine, so we were able to pack lightly just because we knew we could wash and dry some clothing. And that was super convenient. There were also like within like a 3 to 4 minute walk from like a grocery store, and of course really close to 7-Elevens, Lawson's, Family Marts, those convenience stores that are just chock full of tasty bread, onigiri, like rice with meat and various meats inside or other proteins. And yeah, just like pretty much like ready to go meals that you just either microwave or just you can just eat on the spot. But we started in Osaka. The first day we just explored the general area, which was like the main bridge with the giant Glico statue. It's like looks like a guy running a marathon with his arms open wide. But mainly, the street just has a ton of seafood. I'm not a big fan of seafood, or specifically like a crab that looks like crab, and you have to like break the leg and eat it like that. Like that. That's not for me. I've had takoyaki. I've enjoyed it, but I kind of skipped it this time around. I just wasn't really in the mood to put something that hot in my mouth. But my brother partook many times. And then from Osaka, because we were in Osaka, we went to Universal Studios over there to check out Nintendo World, hoping that by then Donkey Kong Land would have been open. Turns out we missed
Of
it by
course
a
not.
month. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just said end of the year, and we were like, we're pretty close to the end of the year. Like, there's no way. But they did have the merch available that they would have had at Donkey Kong Land, which is funny anyway. So, like, my brother did buy some DK Land merch.
Okay.
Oh,
At
good.
least
That's
something
not
And
so
new.
bad. It is funny that literally, like, the day you came back, the next day, Nintendo's like, here's a direct all about the land we're about to open. But,
yeah. But
yeah.
honestly, like, we would have obviously gone, but it was still such a, like, packed day, because of the type of pass that we got, we were able to get into, like, fast passes for the Harry Potter ride, a crazy roller coaster in Jurassic Park that apparently is still not as intense as the Velocicoaster from Orlando, which I have not been to. But this roller coaster was pretty freaking intense.
Oh,
You
the
just dang.
Velocicoaster's so good.
Are,
I was so afraid, and I loved it
are
so
are you
much. Thanks to
seated in
Kevin's
that one, or are
push.
you dangling?
You're seated,
Wait, say that again.
right?
Uh,
In the
like,
Velocicoaster, we were seated, right, Kevin?
Velocicoaster, you are, yeah, you're like
Yeah.
seated, standing up. Like you have a track right under you, like under your feet, I'm pretty sure. Like you have a
I don't think we
platform
were
that you're
were
standing
we?
on.
Were we standing? I could have sworn we were sitting.
I'm pretty sure.
All I know is we were at the front of the thing, so there's
I
nothing in
guess
front
like
of us but
I
track.
guess the
Yeah.
question would be more like, was like your weight supported by a platform or ground, I should say. But
We weren't fully dangling. No, I don't think so. Were we?
yeah,
I don't
Oh,
even
you're
know
right.
anymore.
We
All
are
I know is
seated.
it was
You are
fun.
seated. You are seated.
Yeah, yeah. We
And
were
you only
seated.
yeah,
have
Yeah,
a
because
we
that
were
wrap
fine.
part
was
too, which is the
Yeah,
wildest part of
that's
that
the
one.
crazy thing. It's
that's
especially because
pretty
that one does some
intense.
corkscrews. Yeah.
Yeah, because this one, is you're just dangling. You're pretty much just like suspended by like your torso, and then They just flipped all around. Like at one point, it almost feels like you're just getting your back stretched out by a chiropractor, which did feel kind of nice, but it definitely did a good job of like living up to, roller coaster expectation of like I'm gonna die, but you don't, so it makes it thrilling and not scary.
I
But
appreciate that you needed to clarify. It has the feeling of I'm going to die, but you don't. I'm glad you put that clarification and that you're not a ghost talking to us. Thank you.
that's the mark of a good high speed roller coaster. Like
Yeah, yeah. No, just the clarification that you
otherwise, it's
didn't
just
die
boring.
is good to know.
Yeah, but yeah, and then we went to Nintendo World, of course. We got on the Mario ride again, the Yoshi ride, and the Jaws ride that's specific to Universal, and also, oh no, that was a different day. And yeah, that was super fun. We spent a lot of time also in the Sesame Street area. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Wonderland, where there's like Snoopy, Sesame Street, and Hello Kitty stuff. I think it replaces what would be like the Minions area in the Los Angeles equivalent.
Sounds like they
But
have the better deal over there.
oh yeah, a lot more variety for sure. And then from there we went to Kyoto, where we hiked during like we went to the Torii Gates, which was just a very nice site. There was a lot of stuff I haven't done. I haven't really fully explored the Osaka area much, or
Mm.
that side of Japan. So there was a lot of new experiences for me too. Like we also went to Nara, where the deer just roam free. We thought we'd have
Oh,
to
the deer
go.
park. Yeah, that's famous.
Yeah, we thought we'd have to go pretty deep into the park itself, but no, once you're out of the train station, they're just kind of there already. So that was pretty convenient. And then it almost as fast as like we got there, it felt like we already had to go to Tokyo. So we had our baggage shipped to Tokyo, so we don't have to worry about that. We barely had to carry our luggage, which is nice. We just took advantage of the fact that both our Airbnbs provided shuttle service, so they just picked us up from the main stations or took us to the airport, took us to
Wait, the
Disneyland.
Airbnb had a shuttle?
Yep.
Why
That's
is
cool.
Japan such an amazing place? Like,
Yeah, they had
what?
like their own little bus, and it even had like a monitor
That's
that said
incredible.
like it had like an ETA. It gave us, well, this was only actually once during one of the shuttle rides, that it gave us like an ETA, random facts, and it told us like
What?
you're 5 minutes away from your destination, and then it showed you like a picture of where you were and whatnot. But otherwise, and then when we got there to the other Airbnb, like our luggage was already there, so we just had to carry the bare minimum, just what we needed for like the short
For like the
travel.
day, yeah, yeah.
The only unfortunate hurdle that we did have to come through was there was some serious flooding happening in Tokyo and in certain places, so a lot of bullet trains got canceled, including our original one. So we had, and because of that, the train station was also just pure chaos. There was crowds of people, not really, like, running around like, what do we do? Our trains are getting canceled. It was just flooded with people.
Was
And
the flooding due
if,
to rain or was there like a
through terrain,
infrastructure
yeah.
issue? Oh, okay.
And eventually, the situation started getting a little better to the point that some trains started running again, but only a few, but not the one we got initially. Like that one just never went. So at some point, when I was in line to just like go get some help to maybe like get our tickets changed, that line to get the ticket changed would have taken like maybe another hour or two. And even then, we don't know
Okay.
like exactly how we would have gotten help. So like we just made the call, like I'm just gonna order these tickets for this train. I called up, my sister and my brother-in-law, and they told me, like, I asked them, like, oh, do you see this train on the ticker? Does it have a platform? And then once they confirmed it, I just bought them, and we made our way there with the family, and yeah, then we were in Tokyo, which, just like Osaka, we kind of just speed run. Like the first day, we just did like a Shinjuku, the mall area where the Nintendo store, the Pokemon Center, the Crosswalk, the Disney store, a lot of shopping, and then Ikebukuro, where we went to the Sunshine City Mall, which is also very big, has an aquarium. Also, just it's another mall. And that day, you could tell some people were getting burned out on malls, which is understandable. If you're not like a big Nintendo fan, you don't necessarily care to go to every single Nintendo store, and they all just start to, like, characters are starting to start to blend together. Um, which Japan has no shortage of. But soon after, because Disney was also a big priority, because we're also like a big Disney fan family, especially my sister. We had Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, and then Disney Seas back to back. And we actually booked a stay at the Toy Story Hotel because that was the only way that we could guarantee access into Fantasy Springs, which is another new area, kind of like Donkey Kong Land that just opened. Except that one is huge. It's almost like a third of the size of. It's like about the size, if not a little bigger than some of the other a general area of Disney Seas. If you've ever been there, Jason,
Nope. Make it
fine.
relatable to Disneyland America.
It's
Disneyland.
like it's definitely bigger than Tomorrowland. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
There's
Like Frontierland size, maybe? Actually,
yeah,
Frontierland's
actually,
smaller than Tomorrowland.
it's it's like somewhere between. It's like I think if you combined Galaxy's Edge and Cars Land together, that
Okay.
probably gives you a good footprint.
Okay.
It's pretty big,
Yeah.
but they have mainly because they have three rides there. They have a brand new Peter Pan ride, a updated version of the Frozen ride, and what seems like a copy paste version of the Tangled ride. That's I believe those two, the latter two were in Florida. These just have like more updated animatronics, which after looking at video comparisons, yeah, you could definitely tell. Um, but the main takeaway is it's kind of a lottery system if you don't have a guaranteed access there, which is the only reason we got the hotel reservation. And we weren't aware at the time because of the way the reservation was worded, but it actually didn't. It did come with unlimited fast passes for that day for any of the rides in Fantasy Springs, which is really nice because otherwise
That's super nice.
we had already mentally prepared to only get on maybe one or two of them. Like, all right, pick the one you really want to get on, and then maybe we'll get a chance to get on the other one because lottery system and getting tickets online. Otherwise, the queues are just ridiculously long. But we didn't have to worry about that to the point that Esther, my sister, was able to get on the Peter Pan ride twice back to back. And man, that is probably my favorite ride in all of Disney Seas. It's the best way to describe it. It's like pretty much the same technology as the Transformers ride in Universal Studios, but that ride is over 10 years old, and this is basically just the evolution of that ride. They just took the tech from that ride or just built upon it. So instead of a car on a track, it's still on a track, but you have sensations of flying. The transitions between the screen that you're looking are so good. And if you enjoy the Peter Pan movie at all, having nostalgia for it, it's one of the few rides where I felt they gave you more than enough time to really sit there and just enjoy something before it just ends. Like, they pretty much play out the entirety of the You Can Fly song. And during the whole time, you're just kind of like enjoying like traveling all the way from Neverland to London, spending some time in London, and then going back to Neverland. And it never felt like you were like cheated out. Like, if I waited over an hour in line for that ride, I would have felt like, damn, I really like that was worth it. Whereas, there are some other rides that are great, but they're just like really freaking short. But
Right.
yeah, so that one, if you're ever in Fantasy Springs, I would recommend it. It's even if it's just for the tech, because it's an interesting combination of 3D technology with 3D screen technology with a moving car and practical, I guess, set pieces.
Practical effects, practical animatronics, yeah.
But it probably is like the best way that you could do a Peter Pan ride. Like, the quality of the animations, like it looked like if Disney animated Peter Pan today for like a modern audience, like with the way they animate Moana and all those other films. But I would even say like a lot more cartoony. So like there's way more squash and stretch, and it feels like a true modern version of that cartoon. It felt like it didn't feel cheap in any way. I don't know. It was great. Like, I'm honestly just still kind of blown away by it. And on the other side, Disneyland, the main new thing was the Beauty and the Beast ride, which was also really great. And that one I felt could have been a little longer, but it was still. But that's like a nitpick because when it had I also really enjoyed. I just love that. Again, it also gave you enough time to really, you're basically just playing through a playlist of like, here's all of, basically all of Be Our Guest, all of like, the Tale as Old as Time song, or the, man, I wish I knew the names of these actual songs. Like, there may be something that wasn't there before, unless that is the name of the song, because it's so long. But yeah, like there was, yeah, it feels like Disney, at least the Japanese rides, they really nailed those. Those were really really good. But then we had one more day in Tokyo after that, and oh yeah, Toy Story Hotel, theming wise, damn, it's really cool. But the rooms themselves, it's basically just imagine the hotels you guys I know have stayed at. Well, at least Kevin, I don't know where you stayed at in when you went to Japan, Jason, but just imagine
Yeah,
one
because
of our.
someone uninvited me from the trip.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but gotta
But no,
gotta
what
move
were you
on.
saying?
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, just imagine one of the hotels we stayed at, your typical small one, but just Toy Story themed. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and Toy Story theming was nice. But we went to, and I guess I should mention we did also stay at the Hilton next door for one night as well. So that we went on a Mount Fuji trip. One, I think it was like the second day in Tokyo. Like we had that shuttle service take us all the way to like a very nice vantage point. We took some pictures, and it took us to like a temple and some shrines, and it was a very nice day. Just because we didn't have to worry about navigating the train system, which the family did a great job of doing. Like I pretty much took it on myself to just try to keep it as simple as possible for them. So I would kind of get ahead of them, get the tickets for everybody, figure out the where we have to go, and then they would just pass the ticket gate. I would like feed it on one side, my brother would grab it on the other, and we didn't get lost once. Like I think we might
Nice.
have. There was maybe one or two times where we second guessed whether a train that was there was the right one, but we usually, yeah, we always like ended up where we needed to go. But straight from Mount Fuji, they dropped us off at the Disneyland Resort so that we can just wake up the next day at Disneyland. And they also picked us up from Disney Seas and took us back to our Tokyo Airbnb, where we wrapped up the last day at the Starbucks Reserve, which is also really, really great. Like, I'm not even, actually, I wouldn't even say like a big Starbucks fan. I'm not really a Starbucks fan at all. I don't dislike it. I just don't really have an opinion for it one way or the other. I usually go to Coffee Bean. Not that I prefer Coffee Bean either. It's just the one that's right next to, like, it's walking distance from where I live. So it kind of wins by that. Um, the
Don't you
point
also have
is,
a
it's
walking distance Starbucks from your house?
maybe. I guess it's just far enough that it's not even on my radar.
It's the one that's right across the Tacos Gavilan. Pretty sure, unless that's a coffee
Oh
bean.
no, no, you're right. That is a Starbucks, and I'm pretty sure that actually is closer.
Yeah.
So I guess you just prefer Coffee Bean. Contrary to your own have an opinion, you clearly do.
Huh? Yeah, I guess I do. Well, you know what it is. My sister once got me something called like a matcha ice blended drink, and it was amazing. Mainly because it's a very sugary effect drink. It, like after you've had like more traditional matcha and you have this, you're gonna be like, it doesn't really taste like matcha. It's just like a very sweet drink, which I still like it. I
What the
like a
hell's
sweet
this
drink once
coffee
in a
bean?
while.
I'm trying to find it on maps.
It's on, yeah, but essentially Starbucks Reserve. For those that don't know, there's like a handful of them in the world. I know there's maybe two in Japan. There's like maybe three in the U.S. I think there's like one in Boston, one somewhere else. But it's like a three-story building. For the first floor is like your normal coffee, and I'd say normal, but it's like they have like a they have roasts from all over the world, as they put it. And then the second floor is where you have like your teas and coffee fusions. And then the third floor, you have your alcohol and coffee fusions. So we had something called like a Japanese, no, a new Tokyo fashioned, which was really good and also really strong. And they also served like Irish with no, is it Irish whiskey? Irish something.
Irish coffee,
Irish coffee. There. Yeah.
which has whiskey, so you're not wrong.
Yeah. And that was also really good. They also have like a various assortment of desserts and stuff, but it's very big. It doesn't really feel like a Starbucks. It just feels like you're at a giant coffee house, a giant fancy coffee house. But we went from there, and because it was the last day, and we knew the family wanted to get some souvenirs or random knickknacks, we went to Don Quixote, which is the first time I've actually gone in one.
Quixote.
Did you go to Don Quixote during our trip, Kevin?
No, the one that we always went to was the one with the wildly annoying voiceover of the guy like, yeah, come into this store with no tax. We got so many cute bags. Blah blah. Like the cute bags part is ingrained in my head because of the way that it's enunciated. So many
It's so
cute
weird 'cause
bags. But
that's such a
I'm pretty
small
sure it
part of
wasn't
the
a
store.
Don Quixote.
Like Don Quixote has everything, right? That's such a weird thing to call out is the cute bags when it's like a 6-story megaplex of everything you can imagine.
It's weird because Don Quixote is like a Spanish poem.
Yeah.
Someone correct me because
Well, it's
I
like
feel like I
a
should know.
folklore or a tale.
Yeah.
But it's about
But
a traveling adventurer, right?
yeah, but it has nothing to do with that. The mascot is a penguin with a Santa Claus hat, and
Naturally, of course. Yeah.
and there's a couple spread out throughout Japan, and we went to the one in Shibuya, which is called like a mega Don Quixote. It was 7 floors and a basement, as opposed to like the usual like 4 or 5 floors. And I thought like, yeah, we're gonna be there for like an hour and a half. They're just gonna get their stuff, but no, we were in there for like 3 hours, and Jesus, there's like so many people there. So many times we have to go up and downstairs, and yeah, it was exhausting. I don't necessarily want to go back to Don Quixote unless I have to.
What about their cute bags?
I mean, I managed to not go there during the previous 4 trips to Japan, so I think I'll be fine. But it was definitely an experience. I mean, you'll definitely find what you're looking for there, from Gucci bags to, I don't know, shoes to high-end watches to
Video
even
games?
yeah, they
They
had
have
video
game
games.
section. Yep.
I saw they had even that waifu dating sim tax game where like you file your taxes and like you're basically going on a dating sim and she asks you like, how many people in your family, blah blah blah, and it actually will give you the proper forms to submit your taxes.
That's really
But-
funny. I had no idea that was
Oh.
a thing.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know if it's on Steam, but it was made specifically because these people, they thought it'd be funny and they wanted to give people something that is fully featured compared to what TurboTax has because of their tiers that they usually charge. But yeah, so yeah, then we just came back. I didn't buy a ton of things. I did obviously buy a couple things. I did try my hand at the new line of gachas from the Nintendo store. I think this time around they were based on the Super Nintendo and 64
Oh, the
and
buttons
GameCube
and the stick
controllers.
keychains.
Yeah, because I tried it last time when there was like the NES ones, but I wasn't as excited for those because there's less nostalgia with me for NES. But SNES, GameCube, and 64, there's obviously a lot more. But I really just wanted the GameCube buttons, and I tried it 7 times, and I got no GameCube button. I
What
got
did you get?
like 5 Super Nintendos and one N64 and the N64 analog. Kind of a split between Famicom Super Nintendo or Japanese Super Nintendo and normal Super Nintendo. But yeah, there's just a lot of Super Nintendos, and it was demoralizing. And then my brother tried it once, and he got the GameCube one, so we traded the 64
So
for the GameCube one.
Out of curiosity and nothing about my own self-interest here, what happened to those other Super Nintendo ones?
Oh, I
Where-
put them
where'd
at
they go?
what we call the free table at work, and people just grabbed them.
Huh. He didn't think I got some guys I do a Nintendo podcast with that might like be down for a
I
button on
thought
a
of you,
keychain?
but then I literally
But
imagined
then
in
you're
my
like,
head.
no.
Yeah, because then I thought like what would Jason say if I handed this to him? He would go, "What am I going to do with this?" And then, yeah,
Okay, that's absolutely not what I've ever said to anything you've ever given me, but I appreciate that you
not to
think I
anything I've ever
disregard
given you,
things.
but you have said it to things where, like, we're at a Nintendo store or something, and you're like, "Well, why don't you get that?" And your
Well,
usual
that's when
response
you're like,
is,
Jason,
"What am I
buy
going to
this
do with
giant.
this?"
That's like when it's like, Jason, buy this giant replica of the Master Sword, and I'm like, well, what am I gonna do with a giant replica of the Master Sword? But like a keychain, you can put in a drawer. Just saying. Just saying.
Well, if just knowing you own it is enough, then I'll keep that in mind.
Just saying. And I'm not trying to say
But
you have to get me things, but off on record, you do not have to get me things. Off record, yeah, get me things.
interesting sounds. But but yeah, then that pretty much took us back here, and now I'm back home in the
Welcome
U.S.
home.
and not Japan.
Do you get that post Japan like depression that a lot of people get, where it's like, damn, I'm back in America?
Oh yeah, I'm still experiencing it right now. I'm
I
looking
believe it's
at
called the bidet blues because there's no bidets here.
you're never as clean as you were in
Not
Japan.
necessarily true.
Look, looking at
I mean, I guess you can
my
manually go install a bidet. Yeah.
looking at the super fancy Ace Attorney ruler that I forgot I bought. But yeah, I definitely want to go back. I just miss like all the walking, how easy it is to just walk anywhere, and take the train, and especially just the convenience stores, which are actually convenient. Like I haven't even thought about going to an AM/PM here or 7-Eleven, which apparently are gonna get more Japanese style
Yeah, they're
things. So
integrating.
I've heard.
There used to be a store here in LA called Famima. That was basically the U.S. version of a Japanese 7-Eleven. They didn't last very long. This was like back when we were in high school, but now, or early college, but now apparently 7-Eleven is starting to integrate more higher end, like Japan style stuff. Yeah. We'll
But
see
yeah,
how that works out.
so that's my long-winded how I've been. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin, top that. He was 25 minutes. Go. You need
Oh,
26.
jeez.
Oh boy.
Starting now.
I thought I was
Well,
only gonna be like 5.
I typically, wake up, eat my bowl of Wheaties, and this is across all 12 days. That Angel was at Japan. Eat my bowl of Wheaties, shower, contemplate whether I go to work or not, whether today's the day where I finally don't show up to work, and they'll get the hint that I won't be returning to work. I always end up going to work, so it doesn't really matter. Go to work, come back home. Let's see, what do I usually do? I still do a little bit of work here and there. Get on deadlock, shower, go to sleep, rinse and repeat the next day. Across all 12 days. Um, there's K-pop somewhere in there. It's all blur now. Uh, I think that's it.
Okay,
Back to you,
so
Jason.
you took significantly less time than Angel did. Angel, you were talking a lot about theme parks. So I do feel like now is as good as time as any to talk about a Japanese theme park you already touched on. Did you guys watch yesterday as of this recordings, Super Nintendo World Direct about Donkey Kong Country, about the park?
I did not, but that's just me.
Okay,
I
that's
did
that's one no.
yesterday. I had forgotten about it, but yeah, I did. I
That's
did
one
end
no
up
and one
watching
yes.
it.
Thoughts?
I mean, I guess first one is damn. I wish I hadn't seen this just to keep the same level of surprise that I did for Mario World, which I'm really glad I did. But then immediately after, it went from, huh, this will at least make Mario World feel more substantial, but by itself it feels kind of small.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like we already knew, but just seeing it reconfirmed that like, oh yeah, this is 100% just Donkey Kong Country Returns, inspired. Um, was a little sad. I was hoping to hear some more Super Nintendo level stuff, but you got your Tiki Tak tribes, you got the the minecart music that sounds like it's straight from The Incredibles, but still cool. But I guess not as immediately excited as I probably was for the initial reveal of the Mario World, but still excited nonetheless. I mean, the DK costume looked cool.
That was such a nice moment. So Kevin, for your reference, the video was about 10 minutes long. It was Shigeru Miyamoto walking around and explaining stuff. There's a great part where he's highlighting that you can find the 4 Kong letters like in the game, Kong, and he just gestures to it like, this is a K. And I don't know why I just found that so funny. He's like, this is the letter K. But anyway, there's a very nice moment, the Donkey Kong costume, where Miyamoto sees the Donkey Kong costume and they have an embrace and they hug. And it's like father and son because, that's his creation. But he says something right before he hugs, like, it's been a while or something. I was just like, aw, how wholesome. But yeah, I think to kind of echo what you're saying, Angel, it was interesting that it does feel less substantial. I was sold on the minecart ride from the start, Minecart Madness as they're calling it, where there's basically from patents that leaked years ago, the main track and then kind of a second hidden track so you can make the cart jump. So you actually are off the track, but you're on another track. And they didn't show that in the presentation, but I thought that was the coolest thing. Like a really cool idea. I was really excited for that. So everything else was kind of icing.
The funny thing though, like, I don't know if it was a year ago or it feels like it was a year or two ago, but one of our friends, I don't know if they've ever appeared on the podcast, but our resident roller coaster obsessed buddy,
Eric, yes,
yeah, like I remember like they told me about like the DK ride way before I even heard anything official from Nintendo.
Oh,
like,
yeah, the patent came out like 5 years ago. Yeah, we talked about it years ago.
Yeah, and then I remember like it even had like a demo of like how it's gonna work with the double rails, and it even had like a little thing.
Yep.
But,
yeah, you can't have theme parks seem to not have secrecy really. I mean, we knew the Mario Kart,
which is
situation
fine,
before it
honestly.
was
Like,
announced,
yeah, like not everything has to be like super tight-lipped. Like sometimes,
yeah,
like
but there were
sometimes,
still
like for me, like maybe because of just where I'm at now, like you just tell me, like I just need to be told, like, oh yeah, we're working on Metroid Prime 4. I honestly, I don't even read a trailer at that point. But they do have to market to people that may not have played Metroid Prime 1 through 3. Why should they care about 4 and not worry that they didn't play 1 through 3? But that's what that's for.
Yeah, and to your point about the video, I don't think either they didn't show everything, or like I said, it's all icing on the cake beyond that ride as far as I'm concerned. The ride was barely shown in the video. But I seem to recall when Miyamoto did a similar walkthrough of the what's now called Super Mario Land. There's Super Mario Land in the Donkey Kong Country. I don't think they showed all the little mini games and stuff you could do either. But in this video, they only showed one, which is basically giant Donkey Konga, like huge conga drums you can drum in rhythm. They showed a photo op station, they showed a snack bar, and they showed a shop, and that was like it.
Was that Rambi CG?
No, I don't know. It looked
like very
so
CG.
How it works for those who haven't seen the video, like you, Kevin, is you do the Donkey Konga drums, and if you successfully do the rhythm, obviously you get points on your power-up band like you do at the Mario Park, but also a crate opens and Rambi sort of pops out. And it did look kind of CG, but then it's an animatronic Rambi, and they also had animatronics of Cranky Kong and Squawk in line for the roller coaster, which looked pretty good.
Yeah, but those
Rambi looks slightly better than that, so I don't know.
Those clearly look like animatronics. That Rambi did look like we haven't finished it yet, so we're gonna render this rhino here to show you what we expect to do later. Either that, or they just happen to have
ready
the perfect
and
lighting
sitting on it. It might be lighting. The park's apparently like done. Yeah.
When we were riding the aforementioned Jurassic Park Death Coaster, I think it's called the Flying Dinosaur. We saw when we were at the very top Donkey Kong Land, and we could see them like test running the minecart ride. So we saw like minecarts coming in and out of like the golden banana temple.
Yeah.
And then we were like,
but yeah, I don't know if that Rambi's real or not, but I thought it was interesting. They only showed one activity. Miyamoto said there's like hidden stuff in other areas and whatnot, so maybe there's more. I think that's how they revealed Mario for the first time too. But I was kind of like, I'm here for the minecart, but there's not a whole lot else beyond that compared to Mario. Like Mario felt like, if you think about Super Mario Land, especially at least the one here in Hollywood, the more I thought about it, the more it's like a giant playground essentially, and there's little things you can hide in and little like hidden like little nooks and crannies, and like if you're a kid, it's a huge playground where you can explore. And they're alluding to Donkey Kong having that vibe too, but they didn't really show much of it.
Yeah, but there's no way they're not going to have something like after you collect all the Kong letters, you play a special game, just like with Bowser Jr.
Yeah, just like with Bowser Jr. Exactly.
Although maybe they won't. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see. But it was nice to see that like. And then they had the game, they had Donkey Kong Country coming to Switch in January. So like, there's a
Which I
clear
totally
like
forgot about.
Yeah, same. But there's like a clear until they like tweeted yesterday the like 2-second video of Donkey Kong pounding his chest, and they were like, I can't remember what it was, but some dumb little joke about like the game comes in January. Like, oh yeah. But there's clearly a marketing pipeline now where it's like the park opens, the game comes out, then the park opens in America. So maybe they'll ramp up. I think Donkey Kong's anniversary is coming up, so maybe they'll ramp up in some big way for that. Hopefully not just a port and a theme park, but like a new game would be cool. But yeah, that's pretty much the presentation. It's nice to finally get a date. December 11th in Japan, May here in the U.S. Yeah, but Kevin, I know you said rinse and repeat every day, but there's one thing you didn't mention you were doing that I feel like we should shout out before we dive all the way in on everything Nintendo. Do you want to talk about Metaphor? You've been playing Metaphor, right?
Sure, I'll play Metaphor. I'll play Metaphor. No, I'll
give us a metaphor about Metaphor.
I'll take
Jason was
Actually,
like,
no,
speak
give us a
now or
simile.
shut the... I'm just kidding.
Give us a simile.
Yeah,
about
so Metaphor Re-Fantasio. I'm currently about 20 hours in the game. And, I mean, come on, you guys know me. This
Your jam.
This is my jam. I'm loving what I'm playing so far.
You're that kind of persona?
Yeah, so this is the first game from Studio Zero, which is a brand new studio that's still under the Atlas umbrella. But it's actually comprised of the creative leads that brought us Persona 3, 4, and 5. They left the Persona team after finishing up Persona 5, but they still stay together under Atlas. So they're no longer part of the Persona team, which, I mean, theoretically will go on to make Persona 6 at some point. So aside from this whole Metaphor nonsense, at some point it'll be very interesting to see what Persona 6 actually is. That being said, Metaphor is in a lot of ways an evolution of the Persona series, where a lot of Persona fans can probably pick this game up and understand a lot of the gameplay mechanics without a problem. But it also not being tied down to the Persona IP does give this game a sort of freshness. For as much as I love, Persona 3, 4, and 5, 4 and 5 were very much iterative on the previous game. Here, to myself at least, like, I'll tell myself, oh, well, this is just Persona 6, but it's honestly more than that. And like, just like starting off with the story and the setting, instead of like a modern Japanese high school, where like the majority of the social stuff takes place, here we're in a high fantasy realm, called, I believe it's Uchronia. And there is
about to say Ukraine for some reason. I was like, what?
Yeah, and there's absolutely zero school involved in this game. This is none of what I'm going to talk about. It's going to be necessarily spoiler-y, because this all happens within like the first 30 minutes of the game. Plus, it's also been advertised as such. But right off the bat in the story, the king is assassinated, and his son, the prince, is unable to ascend the throne because a curse has actually been placed on him that has left him comatose. So after a series of events, maybe about 5 or 6 hours into the game, what essentially amounts to a battle royale for the throne begins, where the individual with the most support in this kingdom will be chosen to become the king in a couple of months, which the parallels to the real life situation of the U.S. Was very interesting when this game came out. It's been out for about a month, but to talk about some of the themes in this game and some of the stuff that's going on here in the U.S. is it's actually interesting. I'll get to that in a little bit. So that's the initial setup. You'll travel to like various smaller locales to gather more support, and that's really where the gameplay loop starts. And here is where a lot of, I guess, the Persona formula starts to rear its head. Um, Similar to Persona, there's a calendar system, and you can partake in like multiple activities during the day that will increase your social stats, just like in Persona. Like Persona, you're increasing like how cool you are, and here it's like you're increasing your knowledge of the world, stuff like that. So like raising your social stats will then unlock like new story and gameplay options later down the line, and the social links, and I guess in Persona 5 they're called confidants. But that system of where you spend time with a set of characters returns, and here it's called the bonds system. And similar to those games, yeah, as you increase your bond with a character, that will then lead to bonuses in the game's other systems. This being an RPG, you can go ahead and partake on bounties to destroy monsters around the kingdom. But just like I said, it's very hard to talk about this game obviously without comparing it to Persona. So I'm going to be doing a lot of that. This being a Persona-ish game, and to advance the story, you are given deadlines where you have to complete a story event by that deadline, or essentially it's game over. So I'm currently on my second or third deadline in the game. I've only managed to play about 20 hours of the game. But then going into the combat, this is where it sort of differentiates itself from Persona. We are no longer using Persona's battle system. Instead, we're using the more traditional Shin Megami Tensei battle system. That's called the press turn system, where it is similar to Persona's system, but Persona's is a little bit more, I guess, forgiving, where in Persona, if you exploit an enemy's weakness, you can essentially chain a ton of attacks before you even let your opponent attack you. Here, you are very much given a definitive, here's how many, sure, you can exploit their weakness, and sure, we'll give you a little bit more help, or we'll give you another turn, but you are limited to the amount of times you can attack before the enemies can attack. And on top of that, this being not a Persona game, there are no Personas. So instead, you have what is called the archetype system. So essentially, this is just a job system, the way that older Final Fantasy games did, where, hey, I want to play the mage character, or this guy's going to be the warrior. So as you go through the story, you'll unlock different archetypes. Right now, I have, I believe, like 6 of them. I have a healer archetype, a warrior, a brawler, a knight, and so forth and so forth. And unlike Persona, where your party, and by party I mean like your secondary characters, are stuck only to one persona, you can actually switch out the archetypes for all your characters, which differentiates obviously this game from Persona, where now you have the ability to mix and match the type of not archetype. What am I trying to say? You're mixing and matching these various archetypes to try and defeat or finish this story event however you can. Where before, like if you're going into a fight and let's say you lost that fight, you knew it was because it's this character who has this persona that's weak to ice, and this is an ice boss, but I have to take this character in. No, now here you can mix and match and like, okay, let me make sure that none of my characters are affected to ice, but there's still a level of difficulty in this game, and maybe it's because I'm playing on hard, that I am truly getting my ass kicked in this game, which reminds me more of the Shin Megami Tensei 4 that I played on 3DS, which that game just kicked my ass all the time. So there is a freshness to the combat system, and the fact that I'm getting beat, whereas opposed to like, Persona 3 Reload came out earlier this year, and that game, even on the hardest difficulty, I'm able to hold my own because I know the systems that are in place. Here, there's still a lot of experimenting that you do before you get your the positive outcome that you want when it comes to the combat system. Like immediately the story already hits you with like an air of maturity that the Persona games don't have right out of their gates. Pretty early on, you gain your second party member, Stroll, but he isn't the girl crazy, wisecracking comic relief character that the protagonist in the Persona games usually gets early on. He's sort of like a disgraced noble that wants to redeem himself. On top of that, there is surprisingly like rampant racism and xenophobia in this game. The main character.
Not what I expected you to say.
Yeah, so in this kingdom, there's a lot of different tribes and a lot of races. The main character is an Elda, who is like the most human-looking race. Like, aside from what's that condition when you have two different eye colors?
Yeah, that. Replicant from Blade Runner. Yeah.
David Bowie had it.
Yeah.
But like the main character has that where like one eye is blue and the other one's yellow. Aside from that, he looks like just like a regular human. Obviously, he's an anime character, so he's an anime human character. But he's an Elda, and in this world, the Eldas are like people that are considered the lowest of the low. And then they're like NPCs that will talk down to you when you speak to them in towns because you are an Elda. And then there's still like a couple of other races that are still like looked down upon. It's very interesting. The main character, whose name is Will by default, but you can rename him to wherever you want to, and he's actually like fully voiced in a sense that in the previous games the main characters weren't. Will carries around a fantasy book, where like the world in this fantasy book is described as very much our like my, yours, and Angel's real world, like Earth, but like utopian where there is no discrimination between races, which is like that is very much a fantasy, I still don't know how that's going to play into the story, if at all. I've heard a couple of podcasts where it does, where this fantasy world does play into it. So I'm like really intrigued as to how it plays out. And then of course all of this is wrapped in like a gorgeous presentation that is like very much reminiscent of, the style that Persona 5 and Persona 3 Reload has. Music is obviously more orchestral and regal this time around, something that you'd hear out of Lord of the Rings or a Game of Thrones. And then like the graphical style has that bold like cell shading that Persona 5 has. And then of course like the menus in this game are stunning. Like the creative team was able to get the UI person that they had for Persona 4, 5, and Persona 3 Reload. And I mean, she seems happy, so like they give her enough time to just create these like beautiful menus that like you can use as wallpapers, quite honestly. I'm still digging the hell out of this game. Apparently it's a lot of people's like game of the years, which is really, really cool. This is a sacked year for RPGs. Like Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, which I still need to get back into. Persona 3 Reload earlier this year. This game. Alice also had like Project Unicorn, or there's a game that they released earlier this year that also had like a ton of critical acclaim. Like this is the year of the RPGs, man. I've been playing this on mainly my Steam Deck, honestly. Like I think I played maybe about 2 or 3 hours on my PC, but the rest of it I have been playing on my Steam Deck, and it's been fun. I'll typically like right before I go to bed, I'll play like 2 or 3 hours, and then on to the next day. But yeah, loving what I'm playing so far.
that flip of like the book they carry is more about what's supposedly our world. The same way we have books about what's supposedly more their world is interesting. I like that concept. Yeah.
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 So, yeah, metaphor.
Nice. Nice. Well, from that, I guess we can dive in. I said at the top, there's a lot of Nintendo things that happen. I guess we can kind of dive into that. There's been a lot actually going on the past few weeks with Nintendo. Probably more than people expected. But also not all what people expected. Like I felt like every day you could find new theories online for why people thought the Switch successor was bound to be announced that day or that week. And then instead, Nintendo gave us an alarm clock and that secretive Switch Online playtest and a Xenoblade port for Switch and a Nintendo Music app. And eventually, in their financial report, we did get some actual Switch 2 news, confirmed backwards compatibility. Switch Online subscriptions will carry over. Switch Online will continue. But there was also a couple interesting things going on here on like kind of a zoomed out macro level. So before we dive into any of those specific things they announced and impressions, because I know, Angel, you've been using the Alarmo clock, as have I, and Nintendo Music's an app we all have had access to. But before we get to that, I did have some thoughts that I think may help like sort of set the Nintendo news table, if you will, with what feels on the surface like a bunch of random hodgepodge of Nintendo doing odd Nintendo things, but maybe makes a little more sense. So first, we were saying last episode, I mentioned last episode how Alarmo reminded me of how Nintendo would invest in like the NES or the SNES Classic Edition or Super Mario Run or things like that to augment lagging Wii U and 3DS sales. Back when they were still
did just stop
Switch
with
wasn't.
those classic editions, huh?
Yeah, they stopped as soon as Switch took off. There was no need for them. I could have sworn they were going to do an N64 Classic,
At
and they
least
never did.
N64.
Right? I could have sworn. I vividly remember Reggie saying no and that it's not going to happen, or like, you never know, but probably not, and tweeting, that's code for yes or something, and it never happened. But yeah, so I was saying last episode that I feel like Alarmo's kind of in that same lane of like Nintendo trying to augment slowing sales with other more fan-centric products. So I think Alarmo does that. I think that pattern is proving to be true even more than since last episode. We're seeing more late-gen ports are still coming to Switch. Donkey Kong, like we talked about in January, where they just announced Xenoblade Chronicles X coming in March to the Switch, just a direct
Chibi Robo
port. If only. We can dream. But that would fit the bill, like kind of more fan-centric things that can goose some, draw up some sales without much effort for them. But also, we're seeing Nintendo do this in a way that they didn't focus on before, probably because they didn't really have it before, but they're beefing up their subscription model. That seems to be the through line here. Like Alarmo, sure, was part of that. You could always get it with a Switch Online account if you wanted to get it before 2025. So, okay. But in the time since we had that discussion about Alarmo being announced, so 3 weeks ago, Nintendo like tripled down on Switch Online benefits. There was that mysterious playtest, which both kind of rewarded existing subscribers by being this exclusive opportunity and teased out some major new like online MMO type game thing you can expect from Nintendo in the future. I wish I could say more. I know there are leaks. I participated in the test, and I don't want the Nintendo ninjas to come kill me. So all I'll say is it teases out some sort of MMO style thing, and it was interesting to be part of. But beyond just that, that's just one of three things. Beyond that, there were also more games added to Switch Online in just those few weeks. They gave us Shadow Man and Turok 2 from the N64. A couple weeks before that, they gave us the absolutely excellent and worth playing F-Zero GP Legend and the Japan-only sequel F-Zero Climax, which finally is now available in the West, which is great. And then most notably, the biggest thing they did for Switch Online was that surprise launch of Nintendo Music, like a whole dedicated music app for smartphones to finally hear Nintendo soundtracks in high quality, on streaming, source quality. And that's a lot in a short period. Alarmo, the playtest, the Switch Online game editions, Nintendo Music. And it's at a time when, according to Nintendo's own financials, they're seeing sales slow enough that they actually have now lowered their Switch forecast for the year. So they're expecting to sell 1 million fewer Switches by end of March 2025 than they originally thought they would. But what's interesting is in that same presentation, Nintendo's president, Shintaro Furukawa, also pointed out a couple interesting metrics. Annual active players is the highest it's ever been on Switch. There are 127 million people who played their Switch at least once in the past year, or played a Switch at least once in the past year. Nintendo's account system, beyond that, like just having a Nintendo account, be it mobile games, checking it at the Nintendo store, using it at Universal, whatever, 366 million Nintendo accounts. So like if Nintendo accounts were a country, it would have a bigger population than the United States. So that's a lot of people, but Switch Online, like subscriptions for Switch Online are only at 34 million. 34 million out of 127 million Switch players, out of 366 million people who just have access to Nintendo accounts. Like that's a huge opportunity to further invest in every industry's favorite new thing of subscription services. Like this is a huge opportunity for Nintendo. And I think what we're seeing from the Nintendo Music app to the exclusive products like Alarmo for subscription holders to, the big MMOTs to backwards compatibility being confirmed and all that, they're just setting up an increase in value of Switch Online. They're trying to convince more people to join it as a dedicated revenue stream for Nintendo, not just like now, but also to sort of get people to stay subscribed instead of just coming and going for games they're interested in. There's an interesting tidbit that Furukawa shared. The subscriber count for Switch Online at 34 million has declined slightly year over year. So there's, every subscription service has this concern of churn. It's why Netflix now breaks up its shows into like multiple chunks instead of just dropping them all at once. They want to stretch it out. So why weekly episodes are a thing again for a lot of other streaming services. Is the idea is you want to keep people subscribed as long as possible. And for Nintendo, you play the game, you're like, cool, this was fun online. You let the subscription lapse, you're not playing it anymore. But being able to augment just the online access with stuff that's more integrated into your daily life, like a music app, or to drive a bigger sense of FOMO with exclusive products or more frequent retro games that you can only get legally in Switch Online, like that. It all makes sense that they're ramping that up now to try and, in the same way they used Alarmo or in past years, the classic NES or classic Super NES, it's, they're creating a revenue stream when the previous revenue streams are drying up a little more. So that's one thing I think is happening with Switch Online. It's kind of interesting, is it's that strategy of Amiibo and Super Mario Run and the classic NES, but now like with a service. In tandem, though, I think the timing of the ramp up being right now in the twilight of the Switch, right before Switch 2 becomes a real thing, is also a pretty strategic long-term play by Nintendo. If they can get people in the door now with Switch Online, when Switch has the biggest audience and the easiest entry points for new owners with the biggest game library, there's just that many more people and opportunities to bridge over to Switch 2. Like, oh, all your Switch games you have? Yup, they work on Switch 2. Whole play history is there with your account. Or, like, oh, you subscribe to Nintendo Music and you like retro games? Great. Did you know, even though you're paying for those, the new Switch that comes out, you get free online play already? Just jump in. It's fine. Like, you don't have to pay any extra. So it just feels like kind of all of this happening in like this like 3-week window. It just feels like kind of the start of this like longer play from a company who tended never to do cross-generational longer plays like this. Like Nintendo's ecosystems were very like generation exclusive. Back in the day, you buy an N64, you play its games, it's done. Then you go buy a GameCube, you play its games, it's done. In more recent generations even, you saw it with their online service. Like they siloed that off. Nintendo Wi-Fi connection was out. Nintendo Network was in. Now Nintendo Network is out. Nintendo Switch Online is in. But with Switch, and what we're now seeing with Switch Online is like they seem to be modernizing and understanding that better. I remember back in the day, Waldo was saying that they believe Switch could have a longer shelf life and redefine what a console lifecycle may look like for Nintendo. And there's a ton of speculation, from us included, on the old RAM Nintendo, that maybe Nintendo would adopt more of a modern-day electronics model where you upgrade with new specs and features, but your old stuff is still there, your identity's unchanged. You upgrade an iPhone, and it's still the same Apple ID, and all your apps are there. And it's looking more and more like that's where Nintendo is going. And I think that's why we're seeing this like rapid-fire rollout of Switch Online stuff, because Nintendo's trying to quickly rope in more people to Switch Online and Nintendo accounts in general, just to make onboarding to Switch 2 easier, more enticing, smoother than they've had before. So that's probably where a lot of this is coming from all of a sudden, and why it feels kind of Skyrish up actually maybe isn't. The last thought about all this I had before we get into some of the specific stuff and impressions, Nintendo has a habit of like ebbs and flows. You know, they have good generations and not good generations. We all know this. We did great.
Hey,
Wii
that
did
song
not.
from Splatoon 2, nice.
Yeah, that was absolutely what I was going for when I said I was like, how do I work in a specifically Splatoon 2 reference to my talk about? Yeah, no, but yeah, like we all know that they're not great with the in between generations. So this whole idea of like, oh, can they successfully look ahead and migrate one console to another in a broader sense may seem like new terrain for them, but I do want to point out they're getting much better at bigger picture stuff. They were very good at like the ethos and the mission at a given moment, like Blue Ocean versus Red Ocean for like the Wii and DS. Like they're like, got it. And then they're like, but now what? And Wii U and 3DS was kind of the result of, but now what? But it seems like they're getting the hang of the bigger picture, longer play. In the same financial report, what jumped out to me, and I posted something about this on social, was how well their IP growth strategy is working. I shared a couple slides that I saw on the financial slide deck, but basically, if you look at how Nintendo has used its top tier IPs, its biggest names, Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, whatever, to drive people to Switch through movies, through theme parks, through merch, it's really worked. Like one stat I saw is that just Pokemon, has sold 99 million copies on just the Switch of Pokemon games. Like that's crazy. Mario is like 2D Mario's have sold like 40-something million. 3D Mario's have sold like another 40 million. Mario Kart's like another 60 million. Like these big IPs are getting people onto the system exactly as Nintendo intended. But then there's like a growth loop that kind of has started to happen. They had a chart that I know, Angel, you saw because you commented on it. But they had a chart where they showed smaller IPs like Kirby and Pikmin and Metroid and even Xenoblade. All of them had like 200 to 600% growth in sales on Switch. It's the Switch bump, the thing we used to talk about all the time on the old show in Jason's Sales Corner, which is kind of what this is in disguise. But, you know, in Jason's Sales Corner, you always talk about the Switch bump and how certain franchises are doing better on Switch because there's a bigger audience. But now what's happening is this bump occurs and it's being manifested with these new IPs, Kirby and Pikmin in particular, now going back out into the other things, the other mediums outside of games. Like there's a ton of merch now. There's more collabs now. There's food, like the Kirby Cafe, you name it. Like they used IPs to get people into Switch and they got people into more IPs and they took those new IPs and put them back outside of Switch. And the second wave of IPs is now expanding at enough of a rate that it has helped, along with the big IPs, to make Nintendo's only product category that saw sales growth so far this fiscal year in the first 6 months be merchandise. Nothing else has year over year improved except merchandise. And it improved by 54%, which is not even just a little merchandise bump. It's a big merchandise bump. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if Nintendo is able to very well map out that kind of IP loop and create that growth, and now they're taking that same team and that same like exec team and that same mindset and trying to apply it to finally fixing their siloed off generations and have it all flow through Switch Online and one Nintendo account and all that, maybe they'll have a successful maybe there won't be like the up and down of one generation to the next. Maybe it will actually work. And I think I guess all this is to say that what we're seeing right now is Nintendo basically setting the table for its next generation. All the stuff they're doing, all the weird things we're getting, it's preparation for that, I suspect. So they're setting the table. This was my monologue to set up our discussion about those table settings. So with that said, thanks for letting me monologue. And now let's actually talk about some of the stuff they did. So there's two things that they rolled out recently. Nintendo Music and Alarmo. I feel like, Angel, you've been using both more than me. Kevin, have you... I know you buy Alarmo, but have you... What?
I said highly doubtful.
That you use Alarmo more than me?
Both.
Oh, no, I guarantee you have. But Kevin, have you downloaded Nintendo Music? Have you dabbled?
That bet.
Have I downloaded Nintendo Music? No, I have not. I do not. I do not have.
What are your thoughts on it? I'm curious, Kevin. As someone who didn't download it, because I know you listen to some game music. So what held you back? Was it just the separate app?
It's the fact that I don't have Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh, that would do it.
That's probably the biggest one. Like, snark aside, The idea is very, very cool for sure. Um, I wish that it showed the composers on there.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting oversight.
But yes.
Um, I think that for everything they did right, like ideas like you can expand music to be up to an hour long and things like that. Like they understand that this music, is kind of background. It could be looped, especially the lower fi stuff. Some of the Animal Crossing track, 5 p.m. Animal Crossing music, the 5 p.m. song, great on loop for an hour. But they thought all that through. But yeah, it is weird that Nintendo continues, even in an app about the music, to bury the credits the same way they don't say who some of their developers are when they announce games now. It's Nintendo. It's just Nintendo, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way too. It's not like the app can't fit it. There's definitely room. But Angel, what about you? How have you been using the app?
Yeah, I mean, I guess bad taste aside of that, because I do like to know who exactly composed what, because I know, like, Koji Kondo is great, but he didn't do everything. Even in Mario Galaxy, like, he can't take all the credit for, Gusty Garden and some of the other things that are also amazing there. But I've barely used it, honestly. Yeah, I was excited when it came out, and I barely listened to it for like 3 to 4 hours a day, maybe. So,
That's still a
I'm
lot.
sorry. I'm
That's
sorry. What? I barely use it except for a quarter of my day.
I
almost.
barely
That's
use
okay.
Spotify for 2 hours a day. And that's everything. That's just not Nintendo music.
I thought I'd be using it more. So, yeah, barely using it.
So
But
how do you are there
all
specific
right,
do you
three to four
use
hours
some
is definitely an
curated
exaggeration.
playlists?
It might be closer to two, but yeah, for the most part, the funny thing is that, like, it's kind of the whole, hey Nintendo, I'm willing to give you money, but if you're gonna make these things unavailable, then I'm just gonna have to go through other means. So I've had to go through other means usually, but if I'm able to buy the Galaxy soundtrack on CD, I think I do own it. I don't remember. Maybe I don't think actually I don't think I do. But DK Jams, that's like a very pricey CD. That's tough to hunt down. That I still want to get, but it is way more convenient than just having these songs on YouTube, because I do have playlists on YouTube that I do go to. I like the fact that it's separate from Spotify, because as I guess I've implied, like, while I don't listen to a ton of Nintendo music every day,
Only 2 to 3 hours worth. Yeah.
yeah, that's a very moderate and humble amount. Um, I like that it's separate, so that, because I do enjoy the discovery aspect and the I guess the summary thingies from Spotify that kind of show me, like, oh, I did or did not go beyond what I usually listen to. And usually I do, like, discover a couple new artists every year. It's like Spotify is kind of like, me getting outside of my bubble while still having a separate bubble that I've clearly, everyone finds their typical tastes.
Yeah. Of
But
course.
yeah, otherwise, if the Nintendo stuff was on there, then it would literally skew all the data. Cause, like, even right now, like, I at the very least, like, on the way to and from work, I listen to, I guess, what I would just consider, like, all my favorite tracks that are all currently on the app, because there aren't a ton of games. I have
And
favorited,
we need to talk about that aspect as well in a moment. But yeah.
like, I have favorited all the games that I like. I had to make sure that I favorited the all tracks, because usually I think at the top it sorts it by favorite tracks or best tracks or something like that, and that didn't notice that right away. But yeah, man, like, having Final Bowser Battle 2017 Nintendo Switch presentation, Breath of the Wild song, and Sticker Bush Symphony to N64, Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 8, it's just amazing. And, sounds great. I could extend the music without having to find an extended version of it on YouTube.
That's
And
the killer feature, honestly.
like, yeah, because that is, yeah, it's just That's perfect. And the fact that it is tied to your Nintendo account, like so far it's like, oh, here are some games that you own and the music that's here. But I hope that because it is tied to your account that you do get a little summary at the end of the year because I would be kind of
Oh, as
curious
part
like
of the like
which
what you've
game,
played thing they
yeah,
do.
like what you've
Yeah.
listened to. Like I'd be curious like which ones I ended up listening to more, which I'm willing to bet is probably going to be between Gusty Garden and N64 Rainbow Road. But yeah, I mean, Nintendo Music was already a part of my daily routine, like already. So having an official app, it's obviously going to be used every single day now. Like it got one of my core hotspot buttons on my home screen, which I only have one screen of, as Jason knows.
Indeed.
And every time, like, I was in Japan when they added Donkey Kong Country 2, and just seeing that little update and like the game being added was kind of exciting. It is admittedly annoying and kind of it does feel kind of silly that we are being like drip fed these games when we know they could just dump them all because they can. But at the end of the day, I guess it does give me something else to look forward to because the music is already available online if I really want to. So yeah,
And I do want to talk
I like
about
it.
that, the drip feed. Nintendo loves a good drip feed. They do it with Switch Online, they did it with Virtual Console, they're doing it with Nintendo Music. But here, so the way I kind of perceived the drip feed was one, on the business side, it continues to help against churn. You're going to keep subscribing because you want, oh, wow, they have Yoshi's Story now? Someone will say when they add it. Cool. Like, it's a way to do it. But I do see what they're kind of going for a little. So when you have a music app like Spotify or Apple Music, part of what helps minimize the churn is even if you get sick of the older stuff you're listening to, there's constantly new stuff coming out. So if Nintendo's logic is, well, if we're trying to recreate like the feeling of like a New Music Friday or something, even if it's on random days of the week and just sort of surprise you. Like today they just were like, hey, Wii Sports is now in the app. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I can listen to that. Like I get what
Wait,
they're
it
trying to
is?
mirror. They added it this afternoon, yeah, as it was
Oh,
recording. Yeah.
oh yeah, there it
And like
is.
yeah, there it is. You didn't get the
Neat.
push notification?
I guess
Tisk
I missed
tisk.
it.
But yeah, no, like I get what they're doing in terms of like trying to keep
Maybe
it
that's
fresh
Splatoon
so
2.
you don't burn out. That makes sense. Almost more so than how they drip
Burn
fed Virtual
out?
Console.
I don't.
No, the game Burnout's not on here. But I
No,
get
no, 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 no.
yeah.
Yeah, but I
No, I know,
mean,
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
like I said, like I think I've had this routine almost every day for like the past definitely at least a decade. Before that,
But
it
some people
was
need more variety. So I see why they're drip feeding it.
well. That's why then put everything on there.
But here's the part I don't get. Why are they drip feeding old games and not new games? So Mario and Luigi Brothership was a litmus test in my head. Because to me, if they launched the music for Mario and Luigi Brothership alongside the game or within a few days of it, you get a marketing boost that the game is out. You get more attention for the music for those who enjoyed it from the game. And because the other killer feature of this app is the spoiler function where you can block out certain games that you don't want spoiled by seeing the music of an A playlist, which is a really clever reason to not just put these on Spotify because you would stumble across spoilers. Here you can actually weed
Yeah, I
them
want to
out.
know if Yoko Shimomura is composing for this game again.
Well,
Oh wait,
also there's the
like is it
fact
wedding?
that they don't show composers. Yeah, no, but what I was gonna say is like it would make sense to me in the same way new music comes out and it's added to Spotify when it releases that these soundtracks for games would in tandem with the game's release come out to Nintendo Music. Like if they want to do the keep things fresh, keep things interesting, don't drip feed as much the classic stuff. Bring in the new stuff as it goes live. Obviously, a lot of people, they want to subscribe to this for the classic stuff, for the stuff they remember. I think they even said some reference in their financials, like it's supposed to like stir some nostalgia. There's probably some synergy between, oh, wow, they have game X, Y, or Z in the app, and now I want to go play it on Switch Online on my Switch because they just added it there too. So like I get that, but it seems like a real weird sort of missed opportunity so far for them not to use Nintendo Music in tandem with actual new game releases. Like how cool would it have been if like the Super Mario Party Jamboree music was in here, or like You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like if they're trying to keep it fresh, why not add the actual fresh music as well? So that's the one thing I thought was kind of strange about the whole thing. But maybe, I mean, it's still young. It's only a few weeks old, so maybe they will start doing that. Maybe we'll see some like Donkey Kong Country music in tandem with the port in January or something. But it definitely, when the brothership sailed without the soundtrack there with it, I was kind of like, oh, that's surprising. But yeah, no, I think the app overall is really well done. The fact that it does pull what games you own from your play history and have those available to browse. The fact that they actually have curated playlists around all sorts of different things, like if you need like study music or walking music or whatever. Like this wasn't just they dumped some MP3s in an app and called it a day. Like there was some real attention given to it. Like I said, the spoiler feature is really kind of a clever idea. The extend feature is really handy. If Nintendo's gonna zig when people expect them to zag and make their own app just for streaming, like they really gave it love and care and thought, and it's a very well done app. Even if interface wise, it kind of looks identical to YouTube Music. But ignoring that, it even has like AirPlay support right off the bat. Like you could do like it's fully integrated with all like the dynamic island on the iPhone for play. Like it's all the media controls are fully integrated. Like they did good. They did good. So. But I just wish they would also fold in the new music as it comes out. That's all.
Fair enough.
Banjo, you were saying it was part of your daily routine, right?
Yeah, you could say that. I
mean, there's another
I barely use it,
Nintendo.
But yeah, it's there.
I barely use it. Oh, I use it for 23 hours a day, guys. It's like it's not even there. But there's another thing in your routine that you've been using. Look at this beautiful transition. That also was kind of Nintendo doing the unexpected. We talked last episode about our thoughts on the existence of Alarmo, the Nintendo sound clock, but you were diligently waking up with it every day, right?
Yeah, I've had a Nintendo themed Alarmo of sorts for the past 2 years now. Before Alarmo, it was an LCD Kirby alarm that I got in Japan that just has like the first like 15 seconds of green grains on loop. And that's it. So at some point, it does drive you crazy. And it makes you dislike that song. So I'm glad that Alarmo has a wide variety of songs that it shuffles between every day. Or you can set it to shuffle between every day, which is what I do. So every day is just one.
Do you have it shuffle within the game or between all the games?
All of them.
Because you can do both. Oh, good.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's just like a new track every day of the week, but then it repeats every week. At least this way, you pretty much get a nice refresh. Like every month and a week is something different until it all loops back. But yeah, it works surprisingly well. Maybe because I just have a great setup where a nightstand is right next to the bed, so I can have it at that perfect angle. And so far, it's been very responsive. As soon as the alarm kicks off, it starts making the noises as I wake up. And once I get out of bed, it does a little victory chime, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, and if I do get back in bed, then I'll start again. But yeah.
Do you also use the going to sleep like ambient feature? It does like 5 minutes of like.
I do. I initially wasn't going to, but then I decided like, I'll use it until I get annoyed by it, and I haven't turned it off yet. So. Yeah, it's neat.
So if you had any nitpicks, if there's anything you wish they could change or improve, is there anything, or is it just like working as it
would have been nice if, honestly, the screen not being actually round doesn't bother me anymore. I just kind of forgot. Like
if you set it up in the right space with the right lighting, it blends in. Like I have it by a window and it completely blends in. I don't even notice it really.
Yeah, like it was. I feel like it was more in my mind before I got my hands on it, because then it just feels like a Nintendo
Oh my god,
toy.
I just realized that the screen isn't round. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's one of those.
Yeah.
That's one of those things like, oh, Nintendo, oh, you. Yeah.
And it's not a touchscreen either, which was only a nitpick just because inputting the long password that I have using only a spin dial, like, rotate, press down like 13 times was kind of annoying.
It was, for me, it was annoying, but It was less annoying because Nintendo did what they haven't done with the Switch, but did with the Wii U and Wii, which is the menus have like sound and fun animations and stuff. So yes, it was annoying, but it was like bloopy as it was going, which helped. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know how we talked in the past about like a Switch,
Yeah,
the
but
menus lost
thankfully,
like all personality. It was all poured into the Alarmo menu, I think, the
I
personality.
mean, it feels quality. I mean, it doesn't feel expensive. It was, but like, it doesn't feel like a premium product, but it feels like a polished product. Because, you know, it feels fun. Like, it's fun to press the button on top. It's very, it stands out. It's really weird looking. But yeah, it's fun. I've been enjoying it profoundly. I could see myself continuing to use it for who knows how long.
I just knocked the microphone. I was gonna say the reason I asked you for your impressions in particular is because I knew this buying it. They put in the disclaimer: if you have pets or a partner in the bed, it doesn't necessarily work as well. And also, you have to have a partner that signs off on being woken up to jump up Superstar. So I tried it for a day or two just as a real bedside clock, but I mainly bought it as a display piece to put on my desk in the office in my apartment. So if I may, and when it worked as a bedside clock, yeah, it could sense there was something still in the, like when I got out of bed, it still thought someone was in the bed, someone was in the bed. So it's not, Nintendo is telling the truth that, you know, you do need best experience is solo bed. But as a display piece to have in an office, it has been quite nice. I do have two nitpicks that they will never address because I'm not using it as intended, but I want them to fix this. Thing number one nice thing it does is when you come to bed, it does give you a little summary of your sleep patterns, like a little pop-up appears and it tells you. And it only does it in the nighttime hours. So if I go and like we have a food bowl for the cats in the office. So if I go in there to give them a snack, it's always like, oh, you're going to bed. Well, congratulations. You slept 7 hours yesterday. Well, it's actually telling me as I sat at my office chair for 7 hours yesterday. So that's a little weird. But the real nitpick, the thing I want them to actually address, the shuffle button that you were speaking highly of, Angel, only shuffles if you turn on the actual alarm clock and use the actual alarm clock. The theming of the clock, like because there's, for those who aren't as familiar with Alarmo, there are, I think, 5 different games currently, 2 more coming via free update download. The entire clock reskins itself. So if you choose Mario Odyssey, it's one look with Mario. If you choose Pikmin 4, there's Pikmin on the screen. Breath of the Wild, there's Link, Ring Fit, etc., etc. Splatoon. The shuffle feature only will shuffle for the alarm and then keep that clock interface until the next alarm shuffle occurs when the next alarm goes off or is set or whatever. If you don't have the alarm on, the shuffle does not ever actually shuffle. So I have to manually be like, I'm feeling like Zelda today, or okay, I'm doing Pikmin. And that's fine. I've basically set, like, every week I pick a different game and I rotate through them, and that's the clock for the week. But it would be cool if shuffle worked even if the alarm was off and at like midnight it just changed the clock interface. That would be fun. That's my one nitpick as someone who's using it incorrectly. But if Nintendo wants to cater to my use case, I will happily download that update. So, but that's where I'm at with Alarmo anyway. It is, to your point, Angel, it's quality, but it's not premium. It's definitely, you know, it's plastic. It's kind of, I think it honestly would look killer in a kid's bedroom. Like, I really like having it on display on my desk and everything, but like the aesthetic of it would be killer next to like a race car bed or something. And I don't mean that as a diss to adults who bought it like us. Just like legitimately, it feels perfectly made for like a colorful kid's bedroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. Could also be
I'm
a
not saying it's
colorful
bad for
adult's
us.
room,
I'm just
but,
saying,
sure.
what? Yeah. No, and I'm not saying it's bad for us or it's not a diss against us. Just like, I think the giant button on top and it kind of has like a cartoony vibe to it. Like, it feels like it would be in like a Toontown house in terms of
Yeah,
like the proportions.
which
That's
is
what I'm
not
trying to say.
inherently childish.
That's true. It's not necessarily, but it doesn't work in like a minimalist bedroom as well. But I really do think it's a
Actually,
cool product. I'm
I
very
would
happy
almost
to have
say
it.
it works very well in a minimalist bed. I mean, it's literally just red. It's a red, uh, what is this called?
Yeah,
Dippin'
you know what?
Dots?
I take that
It's a
back.
red
I
Dippin'
take
Dot
that
shape
back.
with a white button. It's like pretty minimal as far as like
I
alarm
take
clocks
that
go.
back because it actually looks really good on my plain white desk. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying this. I take
Yeah.
it back. Maybe I'm trying to make myself feel better that I'm using it incorrectly. So I'm be like, well, I don't have a race car bed, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's like
Jason's
I'm not using it by a
bad
bed anyway.
point.
That's probably it. I'm trying to soothe myself. Yeah. No, it actually does look quite nice. But you're right. It's not like build quality. It's not like you're getting an Apple product here. You're getting a fancy plastic clock. It's like probably more like an Alexa than it is like an Apple thing.
You know what? It feels the way your Switch does. There you go.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. There you go. If your Switch was hot red and slightly bulbous, that would be an
Yeah,
alarm.
because I mean, when I hold the Steam Deck, that does feel more expensive, but I mean, it also doesn't feel like I'm holding, like an Apple product or something.
Right. Yeah.
But
So that makes sense. But yeah. So that's anything else you want to say about Alarmo?
yeah, it's just kind of funny that you still. I guess you don't need. Wait, I forgot. Did you actually need the Nintendo account? I guess you needed to buy it right now.
I believe
online.
you sign into the Nintendo account to be able to download the updates with additional games, which
that's right.
again is Nintendo's play to get more people in their account ecosystem and then be able to upsell them in the future. So, yeah, there it is once again. But anything else about Alarmo? Because there's one other Nintendo account thing, which I didn't think was a Nintendo account thing, but actually is a Nintendo account thing that I wanted to share impressions of for a minute.
Oh, no, share away.
Pokemon trading card game Pocket.
Oh,
I did not
Marvel
expect.
Snap.
Yes, exactly. I did not expect when
Welcome
I
to
first booted up.
Kevin's. The hell did I call this? Kevin's microtransactions.
Did you? Are you playing it? Have you downloaded it?
The old nightmare
Oh,
slot
snap!
games.
It's Kevin.
No, I forgot.
Wait,
what
Kevin,
it
have
was
you
Kevin's Game
downloaded
Corner?
Pocket?
called. No, it was Kevin's live service.
Kevin's
weekly
live service corner.
Corner of hell and microtransactions.
Yeah.
No, I still haven't gotten around to play. I am very excited for it though.
So yeah, it's
As a matter of
interesting.
fact,
One, yeah,
I'm gonna start.
You
downloading
heard it
right now.
here. They've been.
you can download right now. You're gonna be
Download
one
right
of, as of a few days ago, 30 million downloads. You will be
Jesus
30 million
Christ.
and one.
Snap
It's
wishes.
crazy.
A lot.
It's crazy how fast this game blew up. And I was there day one, or well, -1 because it came out a night early. But yeah, I will admit they got me suckered in with the whole 2 booster packs per day that you get for free. And I've been diligently doing it so much so it's now routine for me. It's now a habit, much like how I check my Pikmin Bloom seedlings and log every day. Like the notification comes in, I'm like, oh, time to open my booster pack, and I go do it.
Good little Nintendo boy.
Like a good little Nintendo boy, says the guy who wakes up to his Alarmo clock and listens to 3 hours of Nintendo music a day.
On my terms.
This is on my terms too. I'm not addicted. I don't have a problem. But actually, to counteract that, what is kind of funny is kind of like my Pikmin Bloom habit. I'm noticing that I tend to lean more on the collecting side of Pocket so far than the battle system, which is interesting to me.
They
'cause
say
when it
money,
was first
please. You say how much?
Well, I haven't paid a penny yet, but I'm noticing I'm more interested in collecting and opening booster packs to collect than I am in trying to like understand the meta or get cards to build the perfect deck. I'm just kind of trying to complete the decks. The Pokedex, I should say. That's not too much like deck, but the Pokedex, which is interesting because like when it was first announced, I was expecting to embrace it more like how when I did play Marvel Snap, I was mostly battling and just thinking about cards that may help me in battle. Here, I'm doing the exact opposite. I think part of it is probably because the funnel for Pocket, the funnel for the gameplay does lean much more heavily on collecting. Which makes sense. This is Pokemon after all. And just like with the physical card game, the idea of God Catch 'em All is the entry point or the like entry drug that gets people or a subset of people to then dive into the gameplay. So with that in mind, it is worth knowing just how much polish is in the collecting aspect of the app, from like first acquiring the cards to showcasing them. Like right off the bat, there's this really good attention to detail with opening booster packs. There's little visual flourishes, like some packs with small bends. You can choose to open them from the front or the back, and the cards will appropriately be turned that same way when you open it. The cards themselves, they kind of borrow and enhance like what Marvel Snap does with the pseudo 3D effect when swiveling them around. Some are normal holographic cards here. Others are cards where the art will pop out a bit. Others are fully immersive, where if you press and hold on the card, there's like a whole 10-second-ish animation that plays that sweeps you through an entire scene of multiple Pokemon just like doing their thing out in whatever the scene is. Honestly, that full cinematic sweep is beyond what I expected from the immersive cards. I figured they just let you like peek around a corner or like peer in at most, but this is just like a pretty cool, just like giant art piece that it runs you through for 10 seconds, which is really nice.
Okay, okay, hold on. Hold your horses for a second there. Okay.
I'm
holding my first booster pack.
How satisfying does that swipe in the haptic feedback
I still haven't
feel?
opened it. I'm still choosing between Pikachu, Charizard, or Mewtwo. Are these confirmed to have like the same cards in them?
So everything in the current expansion that they're doing, so those 3 packs all have the same cards within, or the chance of the same cards within.
Right, but what I'm saying is like this pack that I open will it or will it not be the same as, let's say, if Angel were to download it right now and we both chose the Mewtwo pack? Will we both get the
for
same
the very
cards?
first pack? Yeah. I don't know. That's a
pretty
really
sure
good
they're
question.
different because I've seen
I think it's
2
randomized
different
from
people
from the
open
jump.
the Mewtwo pack for the it was like this is the first pack ever, and one person got like a legendary Arcanine and someone got like a legendary. I think they actually did get the legendary Mewtwo from the same pack.
All right, well, let's see.
First open.
Let's
see what you got. Read them out. Read them out as you go.
Mewtwo. All right, choose this.
But they both got the same level rarity though, so it seems like you are guaranteed at least like
sure
that first one to be good.
All right, swipe. All right, I got a Bulbasaur, regular.
Okay.
Got the card to flip to the next one. Okay. Shelter. Okay. A Dratini. Cool. Sandslash.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And I got a Marowak EX.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't think did I get an EX on my first poll? I don't remember.
Okay.
The EXs are the fancy schmancy ones, essentially. They're the biggies. And once you have those cards, for those who haven't tried it yet, you then
swipe up on the cards.
The game's
to
really good about
into the card decks.
There you go, the card decks. Yeah. And what's kind of cool?
What if you don't do this and just add them to my card decks?
Oh, actually, that's one nice thing they have. They have a little fast forward button on everything where you can just jump from screen to screen to screen without waiting for the animations or doing the swipes. It's nice.
Okay, here's where I see the Marvel Snapification where it has a little 3D effect.
Yep, it's really slick, right?
Cool.
Yeah, there's different levels of those 3D effects too, which is really fun. And what's cool is once you have the cards and they're in your, I guess, card decks, you can do different stuff with them. So you can actually make binders of up to 15 of the cards, as well as display boards where you can highlight one of like a single card and give a reason of why you're highlighting it. And those display boards and those binders can be customized with different accessories from the shop, like covers for the binders, frames for your boards. So you can like make a little like display piece out of your favorite cards. And once you have that all set up, you can then share those in the social hub section of the app, which weirdly is very reminiscent of Miiverse in coloring. It's like the same shade of green. There's even a similar symbol on it. But anyway, that's kind of a cool way to like really bring out the like collecting side of Pokemon cards.
All right, let's open up the second pack.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
All right.
Read them out.
Yep. Will do. Doduo, okay. Psyduck.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, heck
Ralts.
yeah. Doduo.
Okay.
Grapplocked? This is after my time.
Sure.
That the octopus?
Yes. Grapplocked evolves from Clobopus.
The boxing octopus.
Oh, and I got a Gardevoir. Gardevoir can get
and
it.
what you will see, and what's really appreciated about this is early in the game they're very gracious, they're very giving with the cards. You're gonna get a lot of boosters early on to really get you going, and it's really nice that they don't just like shortchange you right off the bat. So a little later they do, but so far so good. Like you can keep going for a while. And like, the ability to like share the cards and make binders and stuff. It's just like the physical cards. So far, so good. Where things are going to start to diverge, what you're going to notice, Kevin, is the more app-like aspects will begin to bleed in at some point. For example, they do borrow a move from Marvel Snap where you can essentially upgrade the aesthetic of the cards. It's flair, as they call it. And you use different currencies you've collected through other activities to do it. But here's the thing. There are 12 different currencies in this game.
Oh, this
No
one,
joke.
Oof, I don't know about that,
Kotaku,
dog.
Kotaku counted. Now, to be fair, this 12 count includes subsets of other ones. So there's only like 6 or 7 categories, but there's 12 technically different currencies. Some of them, I'll just walk you through the significant ones. Some are what power how frequently you can open a booster pack. So by default, you can do it every 12 hours, but you can do it sooner if you have enough pack hourglasses to spend. And you can earn those through daily missions of various types, or of course by using in-game currency that you spend real money to acquire. So that's 2 currencies right there. Then there's the Wonder Pick, which is actually a pretty fun riff on the Pokemon video games Wonder Trade.
Yeah, I just made my first Wonder Pick.
Yeah, so for those who haven't played like Angel, how it works is you get these Wonder Hourglasses you can earn or buy to be able to draw a card from someone else's booster pack pull. So Pocket will present you with the entire 5-card set from their booster pack, and then it shuffles them, and then you get one of those 5 cards depending on which you tap on. And they also will occasionally give you free bonus Wonder Picks, which usually are a special card or a free item like an event ticket. Event tickets are another currency which you can use to get customizations for your binder cases, your display frames, accessories like play mats or different coin designs for the battle side. But then separate from the event tickets, there's also something called pack points that you can exchange.
What the hell is
These
this?
Pack points. What I'm telling you?
I'm going through all this shit, and there's like,
it's a lot. I was inundated. I was overwhelmed. Yeah, so I'll keep talking while you figure it out. But pack points.
Why?
Yeah, that's the ticket I just talked about. Just wait. So pack points. If as you earn points as you redeem your hourglasses for Wonder Picks and booster packs, you also get currency called pack points that let you buy individual cards for your collection using these points, which to be fair is handy if you're trying to get a certain card for battle or collecting. But then on top of pack hourglasses, Wonder Hourglasses, pack points, and event tickets are all the other types of tickets to collect different things. So there's special event tickets for special timed events. There's general event tickets, and there's like a bunch of others. So it's confusing, honestly. And this is, like I said, this is where like the app side of it really bleeds into the experience. And what's also kind of funny, all of it is essentially different ways to randomly pull a slot machine. Like everything in this game except pack points, where you could pick a specific card, is randomized. But what's funny is it seems like what's determined for you may be more than what the game lets on. So when you're first selecting the booster pack, like just now, Kevin, when you're like picking between which pack and spinning them around or whatever, like it presents you with like 10 of them, you can spin it.
I'm opening up my third pack right now.
So, and there's little flourishes that make you think maybe there's some meaning to the spin. Like some are forwards, a few are backwards, some have little bends. But some folks were digging through the game's code, and apparently what you'll draw from those booster packs is determined as soon as you say you want to open a booster pack. So that whole spin and pick thing is predetermined already, supposedly. Yeah. And it seems minor in the grand scheme of things, because ultimately this is like you're pulling a slot machine.
Right, Willow,
but
Pinsir, Old Amber,
what are you doing?
Jinx.
Oh, more cards.
You're
You're getting very different cards than I got. So that answers that. You're getting very different cards.
I'm also picking like the Mewtwo set. I don't know what set you chose from.
I was doing between all of them: Mewtwo, Charizard, Pikachu. They're all from the same. From my understanding, they're all the same expansion, meaning it's just which design you like better. Unless I misunderstood it.
No. It makes sense. That's how trading card games work in real life.
But to go back to what I was saying a second ago, like the fact that like you're doing all these different currencies just to like have a randomized chance that's sort of predetermined. I mean, it's minor. I mean, ultimately, it's very
the only
minor.
one that doesn't do that, which is
Yeah.
that was normal for me. Like, oh, cool, like light, banishing light structured or light of destruction booster packs all had the same monster on them, but it wasn't until I saw Magic or Lorcana that's like, oh, Shimmering Skies, you could have either the pack that has Donald, Wreck-It Ralph, or Vanellope on the cover, but it's still the same pack.
The same cards, yeah. But I did want to. Yeah, so part of the reason I've sort of swallowed the pill of there's so many currencies is because at the end of the day it's all predetermined random stuff, But I do think it speaks to the biggest difference between a digitized version of Pokemon card collecting and the physical thing, which is that obviously odds are still at play in real life with physical Pokemon cards, but you still and you still need to spend money, but there's so much more like I don't know, agency, for lack of a better word, like over what you're doing. Like you have the money, you feel you have some control over which pack you grab and what's sitting inside it. With Pocket and by extension all loot box games, really, it puts a lot of that behind a wall you don't have access to. Like they'll tell you what your currency can get you.
Honestly,
They'll tell you what randomized combo is going to end up happening with, regardless of which digital thing you pick.
But
Like it
the thing
feels
is,
like a step removed a little, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's just
I
kind
would
of a weird-
argue it's actually a little better.
You think so?
Yeah, because the key term being consistency. Like at least
Okay,
those odds
I
will,
think I know where you're going with this.
because
yeah.
at least all those odds will always be consistent. In normal trading card games, you have essentially, like, you have a booster box. The only
Yeah.
way you could guarantee any kind of quality in your cards is if you buy a whole booster box of 24 packs, 36 packs, which is what I usually do with Lorcana. Like I'll buy, like, funnily enough, a new expansion comes out this Friday, so I'm most likely going to be getting a booster box or two and opening like 72 packs or something. But those booster boxes are normally just like opened up and just put on display on the store. So, at the base level, there is at most maybe like one like enchanted rare, like, the one everyone wants, and maybe like two legendary cards. So in theory, like, first person of the day to come into the store can buy like 5 of those packs and maybe
And
get
technically
those.
come out of yeah.
Yeah, and then the rest of them are all going to be like trash pools. But in a
I see
digital
what you're saying.
format, that those odds are always there, because in theory no one can take away like that limited supply of cards. You just have those odds. Like those are always
That's a
there.
fair point. And
Which
and
is,
I should
which is kind of nice,
stress-
because otherwise like buying cards randomly like isn't that great. Doesn't always feel super great. I mean, if you do pull something, yeah, sure, that does feel amazing. But that's kind of how you get that gambler's high, I guess, because
Right.
it's almost like you shouldn't have gotten that lucky.
right,
but-
right.
But yeah, that's why I feel like in a digital setting, it's a little more fair, just a little.
No,
You know?
that's actually a really good point that I didn't consider. And like you can get into the weeds of how the odds work and who's choosing the destiny of your next pull or what. But like the fact is, with Pocket at least, like the hook of collecting is there for me. I'm in. I've been doing it twice a day. Like honestly, that swipe to tear gesture of the booster packs and that corresponding haptic feedback, like that just feels good to do. Like it's fun to do. So it's fine, whatever the odds are, whether it's digital or
Yeah.
physical.
I mean, from my
favor.
very little
Like I'm
understanding
happily
from
doing
what you
it.
said,
So
it sounds like it was, they clearly knew that. And honestly, that's just like normal Pokemon. Like a lot of people just like to catch them. I mean, literally, Pokemon Go is all about mainly just catching them. I could care less about the
100%.
catching part, but the fact that they bother to actually give you binder designs and like put like
yeah,
focus
and like
on
the
that.
showcase.
Not
yeah.
a lot of card games do that. Like, Hearthstone and all of those, like, yeah, you have a collection, but it's just the default binder, just like, just to have the cards organized. I don't know if Marvel Snap has added anything, but you just have like, just
Yeah, you just have the cards.
just
yeah.
a layout, a grid of cards basically.
And it's interesting because with the
And you could
social
sort them too,
aspect,
right?
you
I'm guessing you could have like, oh, I just want to have my Pikachu's here and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
here.
I think there's ways. I mean, you can organize your card view in different ways and then drag and drop them into your binder and stuff. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
really
So
agile. And also
it's a way to really expand your market, because I can't think of anyone that's going to be like, man, I love World of Warcraft so much, the property, that I just want to collect the cards from Hearthstone.
Yeah.
But I can
And
see
also-
someone, I mean, you're that person that would do that. And even for Marble Snap, I don't know anyone that plays Marble
Just
Snap
collects.
just to collect the cards and ignore the game.
No, you
Without-
don't.
I
And,
mean,
and don't get
you
me
also kind of
wrong.
can't really collect the cards without playing the game a lot, unless that's changed. But it's like very intertwined. But
Yeah, here there's a step removed, but don't get me wrong, I have dabbled in the battles. And also one thing to note
Really?
with the binders is when you share them in the social thing, you can give like likes to each other and like accumulate that way. And even for wonder picks, if you pick from someone's booster pack, like I described before, how it shows all 5, you can send them a thanks, and then they get an IM, and they can send you a thanks,
Wow.
and you get an IM. So like there are some like social hooks as well. But yeah, I did do the most social thing, which is battle. I've been dabbling in that. It's interesting to compare, and I'm really curious, Kevin, once you spend some time with the game, we should circle back next episode, because I'm really curious how you think it compares to Snap. But for me, it was interesting to compare how Pocket handles like the much slower pace of the physical card game, the even faster pace of Marvel Snap, and kind of fell somewhere in the middle of that. Like I feel like it was modeled more after Marvel Snap. Like, for example, just like with Snap, it's now only 3 card KOs to win. Physical Pokemon card game is, I believe, 6 KOs. Likewise, they've streamlined decks. It's 20 cards instead of 60 cards. Your bench of Pokemon is 3 instead of 5. They tweaked the whole weakness resistance system to be much simpler math. So now if your Pokemon has a weakness, it's just plus 20 damage automatically. And resistance literally just doesn't exist. So
Wait,
they
did you
simplified that
ever-
math by zeroing it out.
Did you dabble, Kevin? Did you ever dabble? Did you dabble?
Dabble in what?
In what?
The Pokemon game in any capacity?
Oh, I mean,
The-
yeah,
the trading card
way,
game.
way back in the day, back when it was like first released.
Oh, yeah, that's when I used to play the physical game, too. Back in my... I was in the Pokemon Trading Card Game League at my local comic shop in Missoula, Montana, and I earned 3 badges. So...
I wish I could call him a liar, but I have seen his Pewter
badges,
City
yeah.
badge at his place. Even though it's just
Yeah.
a piece of paper, which always kind of bothered me.
It's not a piece of paper, it's a pin.
Well, it's just a flat pin with a picture of the badge.
No, it has some emboss, or not emboss. It's to your point. It's a curved flat pin. Yeah, it's art printed on a slight curve.
Like it's not like even in the
It's
shape
glossy.
of the badge, it's like it has like a background. That's
Well,
part of
and
the
that's
pin.
why Wizards of the Coast lost the license.
But
I mean,
in their
maybe not.
defense, I don't know why I watched this. I watched like some mini fan-made YouTube documentary on like the Pokemon trading card leagues and that kind of competitive play. And at some point, they did have badges that were pretty much one-to-one replicas of the badges, which was cool. I think it was for the whatever Gen 5
Championships.
was, black
Oh,
and white.
boo.
whatever.
Yeah, I was Gen like 1 and 2. I was Gold and Silver and the original Red and Blue eras. Yeah.
Yeah. So by then, I guess they obviously had way more money, so they're like, hey, we could splurge on this a little.
Yeah, we can make card badges that
Look
look
at
like
that.
the badges. But I will say there's one thing I didn't mention about the battle system that's worth pointing out.
Wow.
So all those little changes are there. Probably the biggest outside of the 3 KOs to win rule in terms of streamlining is they have completely removed energy cards. So now they
Oh,
have...
that's good.
Yeah, so like when I was a kid, energy cards, and Ken, when you played,
Never
probably
played it, but I
younger,
didn't like 'em.
Energy cards were always a major consideration when building a deck. Like you really had to think about like, all right, I need to make sure I always can have some energy. Kids today with Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, they don't know, they have it easy because instead of energy cards, there's now something called an energy zone that will automatically spawn 1 energy per turn that you can assign to any Pokemon you have in play in battle or on your bench. And if you forget to assign it, the game actually pops up a big alert, and it's like, "Hey, you still have an energy to assign." When when you want to attack, it'll warn you about that. And I would argue that, like I said, outside of maybe the 3 KOs to win rule dropping down from 6, that energy change is what really streamlines things a lot. Because basically every turn you have something you can do, except maybe the initial turn. If you're the coin flip to go first, you can't place energy, but after that you can do energy every single turn guaranteed, so that really does speed it up. But even with that streamlining, I've found so far, and again I'm curious, Kevin, how you feel once you put some time into it, I found so far that Pockets matches tend to take longer than Marvel Snap. Not by a lot, but
here's the thing.
noticeable.
I would love to get into a match, but the fact that I have to get to level 3,
It goes quick.
okay, finally I got to level 3. Jesus.
Yeah, there you go. It goes quick.
Sure, but at the
so
very least with Marvel Snap, it immediately starts you with a game,
Yeah, and that's why I think the funnel here is more collecting first, and that's how I fell into the collecting side more. Is like it's definitely not as battles. Like battle is part of the app. Battle is not the app in the way that Marvel Snap it is. But yeah, so the matches do, I've noticed, for me at least, take a little longer if that's a barometer for anyone out there. And they're certainly much faster. Don't get me wrong, they're way faster than the card game, physical card game. And there are some nice UI flourishes to help you kind of speed up and ease up. Like you can slide your finger along the cards to zoom what's in your hand. You have to like tap each one. If you want to use that effect card, you just sort of toss it up and it just goes. You don't have to like find a spot to put it. So they did try and like nip and tuck where they could, but it is a smidge slower than Snap, at least in my experience. But that's really just me scratching the surface on the battle side. I do want to spend more time battling. I do want to learn the ropes of the deeper game. Kevin, I do want your friend code now that you've downloaded it. It just seems like there's a lot for my feeble brain, given all the currencies and deck building that can come out of utilizing them, which already makes Pocket seem in some ways more complicated than Snap.
Deck commissions, what the hell is this?
yeah, like I said.
Oh,
So,
man.
but the upside is the game's also expanding at a slower rate than Snap. So it sounds like the first change, like Snap does seasons, what, like once a month, Kevin?
Once a month,
Thereabout?
yeah.
Yeah, so Snap's
That
first
feels so
expansion
fast.
is supposedly going to be January. And right now there's already 250 cards to collect. So it's more time to learn stuff, more time to collect stuff, more stuff to collect. So it'll keep me busy. But yeah, I'm curious to dive deeper into battling and all that jazz. But so far, yeah, as a collecting app, it's very fun and it's very polished and it's really nice. And the UI, the menus in general, the like white, stark white interface, it's a very clean interface. It's really nice. But yeah,
I'm so confused.
that's yeah, it's really confusing, dude. Like like I was so confused. That's why I was just like, I'm just gonna collect for now. And I'm enjoying collecting, but there's so many layers. It's for something that should be relatively simple, it's really not. So but that's Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. If any of that sounds enticing to anyone out there, download it. Like Kevin did, and like I did. And like Angel, you should if you go back to playing games on your phone.
Nah, it's okay. I did try Survivor.io on my phone briefly. I forgot why. I was stuck somewhere, and literally the only thing I was able to do was wait. And I did not have anything on me, so I think I remember Kevin mentioning it. Maybe it was Vampire Survivor or something.
Vampire Survivors, yeah.
Vampire
Which is a
Survivor.
completely different
well-
game from Survivors IO, just FYI.
Yeah. Well, it led me to Survivor.io, which is the one that I played, which, you know, you're just running around like endless waves of enemies with like weapons spinning around you. And yeah, it did a decent job of killing some time. I didn't realize that there was an official Ninja Turtles crossover with Survivor.io, which was kind of a random coincidence. But yeah, that's the last time I played a game on my phone. It's already been deleted.
So I'm gonna make an executive call here, just because we're at 2 hours almost on the episode. Angel, should we save and just leave the mystique of AI cat videos for next time as a
Oh, yeah.
cliffhanger?
Yeah, it'll give us plenty of time to
All
let
right.
the algorithm recover and
So,
for me to share more with Kevin.
oh, lucky Kevin. Yeah, next episode's gonna be big actually because we have AI cat videos, which will make sense come 2 weeks from now. But also, we didn't talk about any games Nintendo released. Pokemon was Pokemon Company, but they put out Super Mario Party Jamboree. They put out Mario Luigi Brothership. Like, I don't know. I feel like Jamboree we all got to play together before we talk about. But I will definitely share some impressions of Mario Luigi Brothership next episode. I've been playing that. I know the internet's been kind of split on it. So far, I'm really liking it, but we'll see what the future holds. Also, next episode, I've been biting my tongue, but the new Linkin Park album comes out Friday. I've already heard it twice. It's good. I'll give fuller thoughts there for anyone who cares. Legally heard it twice. Listening parties, official, above board. Don't want the Nintendo Ninjas or the Linkin Park Ninjas coming after me. But yeah, so to make sure you don't miss next episode where we are doing more catch up in a way, you can find us on all the podcasting apps. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're there. Our YouTube is at Ram Nintendo. Our Twitter is at Ram Nintendo. Individually, we're on the internet as well. You can find me at JSR7 on Twitter and Threads, and maybe Blue Sky one day. I'm starting to lean I feel like I should make one. And you can find Kevin at KVN Gomi on Twitter, and just Twitter for now, Kevin.
Wait, say that again, I'm sorry.
Are you just on Twitter or are you expanding to other platforms?
Oh,
like the rest of the world?
literally today I joined Blue Sky. So
Okay, so you can find KVN Gomi?
KVN
Wait, what's
Gomi.
this guy?
All right. I'm probably going to join Blue Sky by the end of the week, I would guess. Also, you can find Angel's visual drawing / photos from his Japan trip at World of Weros on Instagram. The first one's actually really cool and has a nice little Animal Crossing reference. So go check those out.
Blue Sky is just Twitter that's
Blue
not
Sky.
owned by Elon. Just FYI.
Blue Sky is Twitter, but Elon-less. Like it's literally just a spitting image of Twitter. It was around a while ago. It didn't take off at that time. Threads then came out. That took off for a bit, but then the algorithm got weird there. And then after the election, a lot of people did a mass exodus of Blue Sky. And in the past week, there's been 1 million signups on Blue Sky. So,
Interesting.
yeah, there's some backstory. But yeah, until then, Ram Nintendo's not yet on Blue Sky, but maybe one day. But until next time, unless anyone has anything else, I'm going to throw it to Kevin for the final word.
Watch that new Mission Impossible trailer. It's awesome.